Welcome to Sagenheim. In the last episode of the Thidrekssaga, we heard about one who traveled into Hunaland under a false name and the revelation of his true identity. So here now, something new from the olden days. Then Sigurd departed and went to the kings. King Nordung spoke. Good friend Sigurd, have you carried out my mission faithfully? And if you have brought it to a successful conclusion, I shall reward you. You shall become my earl, or I shall give you great riches. Sigurd answered, Sir, she told me in good faith that she will not take a husband in these 12 months, and as a seal of this decision, she gave me a gold ring. Look here now, sir, at the gold ring. But God help me, I carried out my errand as well as I could, and I have fared no better. I think there are few foreigners, or men of equal rank, who could have performed better or more boldly. Now King Nordung answered and said that he would gladly wait if another 12 months will complete your mission, and he gave Sigurd many thanks for his mission. After this, King Nordung prepared to leave and went home to his kingdom. King Osantrix summoned his friend Sigurd to him. And when Sigurd came before the king's high seat, King Osantrix spoke. Good friend Sigurd, you have been in my kingdom for 2 years, and I have found you to be a courteous knight, and I believe that you could be a man of high family in your homeland, and now I will give you some power. You shall be the leader of my retainers, and ride with my army and protect my country. Sigurd replied, I have not paid back King Attila for killing my brothers and driving me from my domain when my younger brother Alibrand was wounded. He is now well, and I wish to seek him and make him your vassal. He is an even braver warrior than I am, and a better knight. He is a fitting man to serve you. King Osantrix answered and said that it was a good decision that he go after his brother, and that they both come to him and become his vassals. After that, Rudolf rode away to the forest where his knights were, and they had maintained themselves well since he had left. He took along young Osit, King Attila's nephew, as his companion. They all set out and rode toward where King Osantrix was. Sigurd went before the king's high seat, bowed before him, and greeted him grandly, and the king warmly greeted his friend Sigurd and asked him how he had fared. He replied, Young Alibrand, my brother, is here, and you shall see what a fine man he is. King Osantrix greeted them both, and said that he would make both of them great chieftains in his kingdom. But when they had been there 7 days, one evening when the king had gone to bed, Sigurd and Alibrand went to their horses. They had already taken their weapons and their money, and they rode to the castle of Queen Erka. And when they appeared before the castle, Queen Erka came towards them, along with her sister Berta, and wanted to travel away with them. They rode that night as hard as they could, and then rode both night and day as hard as they and their horses could manage. When King Osantrix became aware that he had been deceived, he had all of his knights armed along with himself, and he rode after them as hard as he could, both night and day. Now both parties were traveling as fast as they could, and Rodolf met his men, and they were very welcome, because they thought him already lost. They rode toward Hunaland, but King Osantrix pursued them with his army, and now he came so close to them that Rodolf and his men saw that they would not escape. They rode to a castle called Markstein in the Falster forest, and closed the castle behind them. King Osantrix then came up to the castle with all of his army and set up a camp. But Rodolf had sent 2 men to Hunaland to tell King Attila how far his expedition had come. And when the man came to Susa, to where King Attila was, and when he had heard how Rodolf had accomplished his mission, and how things stood in regard to his marriage, he called out and commanded his armor to be brought to him, and had all the horns blown, and sent men into all of his kingdom to collect an overpowering army to ride day and night, as hard as they could, until they arrived in the Falster forest. Rodolf and Osid had fought for some days against King Osantrix, and had killed many of his men, sometimes riding out from the castle, and sometimes fighting from the castle walls. Before King Attila arrived, they had lost 40 men, and King Osantrix had lost 100. But the castle was so strong that King Osantrix could not win it. When his spies reported that King Attila was approaching with an invincible army, he broke camp and rode home into his kingdom and left things as they were. When King Osantrix had ridden away, Rodolf told his men to take their weapons and their horses and ride to meet King Attila, and they did so. They met King Attila in a fair field, and he had no fewer than 40,000 knights with him. Rodolf presented Erka, the daughter of King Osantrix, to King Attila, and there was a joyful meeting. King Attila turned back with all of his army and rode home to Susa. A little later he had a great wedding prepared for Erka, and he gave Bertha, the other daughter of King Osantrix, to his Duke Rodolf, and gave them much territory in Hunaland. This feast was celebrated with great adornment and company, and all kinds of entertainment and giving of gifts, and the feast lasted 7 days. Now King Attila ruled over his kingdom with his wife Erka. They had 2 sons, Erb and Ordwin. After this, there was much enmity between Hunaland and Wilkinaland, and many battles between King Attila and King Osantrix of the Wilkina men, and with Valdimar, the king of the Rus, and sometimes one had the better part, and sometimes the other. Things remained this way between these kingdoms for some time. And thus this short little part of the Thidrekssaga is already at its end. In the next episode, we'll hear about a world-famous blacksmith, his dwarven masters, and an unusual escape. So thanks for tuning in, and see you again next time, back here at Sagenheim.